Studios. Powered locally by Ferguson HVAC. Engineered tough, built to last.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded. The Pat and Aaron Show on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
You've been going after the county commissioners, man.
Well, I'm sorry when they do stupid stuff.
Whose face do you not like the most?
You know what? Whoever votes against our ballpark. And I've said it before. I am not unbiased, all right? There's a lot of people doing this stuff with journalistic integrity. Not me.
I'm biased, too. I look at people's faces, and I can't trust that.
The Pat and Aaron Show, weekday mornings from 6 to 9 a.m. on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. The home of the best Bucks coverage. We are 95.3 W237CW Pinellas Park, WRUB HD3 Clearwater, and the mighty AM 620 WDAE St. Petersburg, an iHeart radio station.
Gensel looks back the line and gives it up to Hedman. Hedman walks in, puts it across, in front, scores! Nikita Kucherov with a lightning strike in overtime.
And that was your Tampa Bay Lightning. Dave Randorf on the call. They won last night, 4-3 in overtime. What a game! If you turn it off early, you missed a really great finish. And let that be your lesson to never stop watching a game early or never leave a game early for that matter, which I have done before. It's Nick Wize. Thank you so much for having us on this morning. I really appreciate it. It's the Nick Wize Show, live on a Saturday here till 11 o'clock, followed by the Chris and Casey Show. Rock Riley coming up at 1 o'clock. Aaron Jacobson at 2. We are local till 3. Good to have you along. And, one of those games last night, if you watched the Lightning, it was a frustrating game. I do want to let you know we are going to get to the Liam Coen talk. I'll give you my thoughts on that. We'll get to the replacements of who could replace him at the offensive coordinator position. But I did want to start with the Lightning today because I feel like I don't get the Lightning on the air enough. And last night's game was fun, exciting, and at the same time stressful. It was one of those games where it was frustrating because you outshot the opponent 40-14. And it took a goal with 41 seconds left by Gensel to take it to overtime. Kucherov wins it a minute into overtime. They win 4-3. But definitely a frustrating game to watch. The Lightning, they continue to I don't want to say they continue to struggle on the road because they did win last night, but they struggle on the road in general. And then tonight they will go into Detroit. It's back-to-back road games. I'm not saying bet against your Lightning tonight, but I do like to look at, the NHL schedule. This is a little bit of a betting tip if you like to bet on hockey. I typically will bet against a team that is coming off of back-to-back games against a team that didn't, like last night, the Red Wings didn't play, the Lightning did. The Lightning are now on the road in Detroit against a team that didn't play last night, and they did. Plus, they traveled. I call that a scheduled loss. Now, if they win, then hell, they steal it. That's incredible. But from betting terms alone, you can look for these on other teams if you don't want to get a bet against the Lightning. But that is something I like to do is bet that team. So tonight, you would take the Red Wings plus 1.5. Again, you don't have to do that because you don't want to bet against your own team. But just a little strategy there if you like to bet on hockey. That works in football too. Sometimes there are scheduled losses. And I thought, I always called that the Bucks and the Broncos loss a scheduled loss because you went into Detroit, you won that game, you were high on emotions, and then the next week, you think you're playing a bad Broncos team and they come in and whip your butts. And to me, it was like it was a scheduled loss after you beat Detroit. But I feel like the NHL is scheduling a loss for the Lightning tonight. Doesn't mean they can't win. They are the better team going into the game. They are favored. But the way that the schedule is set up, making the Lightning play 2 back-to-back road games while the Red Wings did not play last night, it's definitely a disadvantage. So just something to look for if you're better. The Lightning are now 3rd in the Atlantic, but this team is 3rd best in the entire NHL in goal differential, which, look, that's a stat I like to look at. I know it's not the end-all, be-all, but I like to look at that stat in any sport, because I think it does tell you a lot about a team. Now, it doesn't always tell the full story, right? I think the number one team in the NFL in point differential was the Detroit Lions this year. How'd that work out for them, right? But that was always the story with the Rays last year for me. The telling it was really the telling factor of, can the Rays really make a run? Can they really be good? And it was their run differential. It was so negative in the hole. I'm like, this team, record-wise, is close, but they're not going to make any noise. They don't have the bats to pull it off. The defense isn't as good as it has been in years past. And goal differential, I used a lot when talking about the Rays, and now I throw it in here with the Lightning. And that's why the Lightning, I think can make a run this year. I still think they're a dangerous team. Now, they're still not where we'd like them to be in the standings, but I think come playoff time, this team will be a scary team to watch because they can score goals. The problem is they also get scored on a lot. They're a lot like, you could say Todd Bowles is running the hockey team. You got an elite offense, you got a mediocre defense, you score a lot, you give up a lot. Thank God we got the Rays in town, right? They're pretty good at defense and not very good at offense. They're the only ones. The Bucks and Lightning, they're kind of on the same blueprint when it comes to strategy. Great offenses, kind of give up a lot of points. And, you got to give Julien Brisebois some credit. I think he proved most people wrong in this town. I remember the day Stamkos left. Nobody was a big fan of Julien Brisebois. Everybody had a couple four-letter words for him in the arsenal. Everybody was pissed, right? You got rid of one of your favorite players. And I get it. You have every right to be mad. He was a guy that you grew up on. You watched him for 16 years. He delivered Stanley Cups. You expected him to be here forever, and then one day he's just gone. And I remember doing the show. Filled in for T-Kraz that day. We talked for 3 straight hours about it. 3 straight hours on Stamkos. And most people were not happy. I would say 95% of people were not happy. But I think it's worked out good. By the way, Stamkos, I think he's got, 16 goals on the year, which is 9 less than Gensel. And once again, Stamkos is in his plus minus, he's -8. He's a liability when he's on the ice. He can score goals, but he also is on the ice when his team gives up a lot of goals. Well, I think that Julien Brisebois showed us that he did what was best for the franchise long term. He spent the money on a younger talent. And quite frankly, right now, in hockey, a better talent. And again, you never want to let your superstars go. You always want to see them on your team for their entire careers. But again, Julien Brisebois had to make a tough decision. He made the right one. Gensel over Stamkos was the move. And kudos to him. And we already know this in this town. But Julien Brisebois just proved it. Even further, we have really good front offices. We have a really good front office for our hockey team. I think you can feel pretty comfortable what JBB has done. When it comes to Jason Light, I think we all trust Jason Light. I think he whiffed a couple years in a row on the draft, but I think he made up for it last year. He found some studs. Tyke Smith. Love watching that guy play. Wish he could be a little bit healthier at the end of the year, but I love watching Tyke Smith play. Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving I was high on from the get-go. He was a guy I really wanted on this football team. You guys know me. Love college ball. Nothing I loved more than watching a 10:30 Pac-12 game. So I watched a lot of Bucky Irving. Rest in peace to the Pac-12. I'm the only one in Tampa Bay sad about it, but still sad about it. But I loved Bucky Irving. I think Bucky Irving made Bo Nix a first-round pick. Now, I know it's weird to say that because Bo Nix obviously played like a first-round pick this year. I think a lot of that has to do with Sean Payton. And I don't want to take away what Bo Nix did in college. He played a lot of games, had a lot of experience, but 2,000 of his yards last year came of throws at or behind the line of scrimmage. Well, that guy racking up those yards and adding on to the stats was Bucky Irving. So Bucky Irving, by the way, named to the American Football Writers All-Pro team, or first team, whatever it is. So congratulations to Bucky Irving. But yeah, I wanted to show some Lightning some love, and just happy with the front offices in this team. Even the Rays, is as handicapped as they are, they do the best with what they are dealt. But I do remember that day, fans just being so mad when Stamkos left. Kind of similar to when fans were upset about Liam Coen leaving to the Jacksonville Jaguars. It is the Nick Wize Show on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. Good to have you along. I told you we'd talk Liam Coen. I want to talk about Liam Coen in more ways than one today. Not only how I feel about the entire situation, but also I want to start looking towards the future. I think we've had a few days now to sit here and think about, Liam Coen and how much we dislike him and what a dirty move that he did and pulled and a stunt that none of us were really a fan of. Now we have to move forward. Who can fill his shoes? And I want to get into that more in hour number 2, but I do want to say I understand why Bucs fans are really upset about this. The guy said he was coming back, and then, less than 24 hours later, he's in Jacksonville once again. And Sports Illustrated put out a really good read last night on the entire Liam Coen saga. It was from Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated. Basically, the headline was "Inside the Messy 48 Hours That Made Liam Coen the Jaguars Coach." And basically, it comes down to Liam Coen had to be careful with letting the Bucs know what he was doing because his new offer was contingent on the fact that he was not going to take another interview in Jacksonville. He also had to keep it on the down low because the 2 other candidates that the Jaguars were interviewing was defensive coordinator Patrick Graham of the Raiders and New York Jets former head coach Robert Saleh. Both of these guys were being interviewed basically just to cover the Rooney Rule, which is a rule I don't like because I think it insults the people that it's supposed to help. We're wasting time of Robert Saleh. We're wasting the time of Patrick Graham. These guys are being flown in simply to cover a rule. And, that's not what the rule is about. And so it sucks. These guys are used as pawns, and it's a rule that's supposed to help them, but really it just kind of, it insults them. And so we always knew Liam Coen was the guy, not only because we could see they were trying to satisfy the Rooney Rule, but those were both defensive-minded coaches. Liam Coen was the only offensive-minded coach that they had brought in to interview for a second time. And when Trevor Lawrence is on your roster and the guy you're trying to build around and a guy that you just gave a really big deal to, you're trying to, make that guy successful. And what's going to make him successful? It's an offensive-minded coach. So to me, it was always Liam Coen's. And then when he withdrew his name out of the hat, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And then Trent Baalke gets fired after Liam Coen turns down the job because he doesn't want to work with Trent Baalke. All of a sudden, Liam Coen's back in play. And Jordan Schultz, NFL insider, he reported that, now that Baalke's gone, I wouldn't be surprised to see Liam Coen back in on this. And we kind of brushed it off like, why would he go to Jacksonville? He already turned it down. He's got a great gig in Tampa Bay. They're going to make him one of the highest paid coordinators of all time. And then all of a sudden, boom, he's in Jacksonville. And how it was found out that he was in Jacksonville was somebody in the Jacksonville Jaguars building tipped off somebody at One Buck Place. All day, Liam Coen was, directing, basically avoiding the calls. We all know the story by now. Used this sick kid as, why he couldn't answer the phone. I understand why he hid from the bosses and why he didn't want to tell them. I don't like that he did it. I understand why. I don't like using the sick kid excuse. I feel like you could have came up with anything else. The sick kid excuse, that was the best you could do? I mean, that's something I would do under pressure, choke. Then my boss would be like, you don't even have kids. I'd be like, I don't know. I didn't know what else to say. That's kind of what it seemed like. It's like he didn't know what else to say, and then he just used the kid. And I know the kid, his son has health issues, and I hope that he gets better. And I have no, that's none of my business. But if he really did use that as an excuse, that is unfortunate. But I also understand that when a team is coming at you with, roughly $8 to $9 million more, if you got to be secretive to the boss, well, you kind of got to do what you got to do to get the money. So as a Bucs fan, I understand your point of view and why you're pissed. You should be. The guy stood you up. We thought for the first time in Baker Mayfield's career, he was finally going to have the same offensive coordinator 2 years in a row, and now all of a sudden he does not. And at the same time, I understand Liam Coen and why he did what he did. It's an opportunity he may never get again. And after he took the job yesterday, something else happened in the NFL, further solidifying that Liam Coen made the right decision, despite us hating it, right? I understand you're mad about it. You should be. I understand that he's the villain. He should be. What he did wasn't right. How he handled himself wasn't right. Again, I understand why he did it. I also understand why you're mad. But something else happened yesterday, furthermore proving why Liam Coen did what he did. And I want to talk about that coming up next, because that also plays into what the Buccaneers could do next after Liam Coen. It is the Nick Wize Show. It's 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
Tampa Bay Sports Radio, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. From the Cool Today Weather Center, cooltoday.com.
It's a cold morning across the Tampa Bay area. A freeze warning is in effect until 9 a.m. for the Nature Coast. The rest of our area continues to be under a cold weather advisory until 8 a.m. For your Gasparilla forecast, expect clear sky, lots of sun, and milder temperatures. This afternoon, we reach the low 60s. Tonight's temperatures drop quickly into the upper 40s. However, Sunday afternoon is looking even better, with daytime highs in the upper 60s to low 70s. Conditions stay dry for the next several days. I'm Max Defender 8's Val Simpson.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. My Lowe's Rewards Week is coming, and it's kind of a big deal. Members, get ready for up to 40% off store-wide on hundreds of items. Join for free today. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com.
About contests on this station, go to 953WDAE.com/rules. The Nick Wize Show is live on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
Oh, good to have you along on a Saturday. We are streaming on the free iHeartRadio app. You can also catch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter to watch the show. You'll notice I'm in a pirate outfit today. Gasparilla, bunch of drunk pirates going to be all over town today. Only in Tampa Bay does that actually make sense. It is Nick Wize here till 11, and we're talking to Liam Coen right now, and just kind of why he did what he did. Was he wrong? Absolutely. Do I understand? Yes. Trying to take the fandom out of it. As a fan, it sucks, right? Because anyone that does your team dirty, you automatically hate them. And look, if you've taken Liam Coen off of your Christmas card list, I understand that. But the reason why he had to take the job is because he had to strike while the iron's hot. And I'm sure you heard this take probably everywhere yesterday because, it really just kind of applies to Liam Coen. But Bobby Slowick was fired in Houston. He is no longer going to be the offensive coordinator of the Texans. This is a guy that, last year was a pretty hot coaching candidate. I don't remember if he just didn't get any jobs or if he decided to go back to Houston and sit, one more year as the offensive coordinator, kind of what Ben Johnson did in Detroit the last 2 seasons. But he was a hot name last year. Interviewed at quite multiple places. And, he got those interviews because of what he did with C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud had an incredible rookie year. And then he had the sophomore slump, which, by the way, is why I'm not ready to crown Jaden Daniels yet. What Jaden's done is absolutely incredible. He's in the NFC Championship game this weekend. But I got to see him in year number 2 before I'm ready to crown him, because C.J. Stroud took a big step back. And C.J.'s problem really is he's not good under pressure. That was my biggest, critique of him coming out of college. That's why I wasn't a big fan. And look, I was wrong on him because he has produced and he's made the playoffs twice in his career, but he's so bad under pressure in college and in the pros. That's always been his knock. And until he can, either get a better offensive line or be better protected, I think C.J. Stroud's going to continue to struggle. But, Bobby Slowick was fired in Houston after being a hot name for head coaching jobs last year. Now he's, going to hope to get an offensive coordinator position. Hell, maybe he's the guy that comes in here and replaces Liam Coen. I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it at all. I think that he's going to be a name at, on the list of probably guys that the Bucs look at. But I do find it interesting. I know that this is going to be a different take from your feelings. I do find it interesting how many people don't understand like the actual business side of this or aren't sympathetic on the business side of things. I don't like that the Buccaneers made it. I shouldn't say I don't like it because it really doesn't involve me. But the fact that the Bucs made it, the new offer contingent if he didn't take a second interview. I get why the Bucs had to do that on their side, but for Liam to try to go to Jacksonville, he had the only way that he could do it was to be secretive. So does it show his true character? I don't know, because I try to put myself in those shoes, and I think I'd probably do the same thing. And I had something similar happen in my career. Now, it definitely wasn't for $9 million raise, I can tell you that. But I was doing radio at the time in Panama City. Panama City is a very small town, small market. You're not making a lot of money in Panama City. I got a call from Miami. Miami, you're going to make a lot more money. Going to probably pay a lot more to live as well, but you're going to make more in Miami radio than you are in Panama City radio. And I was under a contract. I knew that my boss would lose his mind if he found out I was going to go interview and audition at a radio station in Miami. And so I went to Miami and just didn't tell my boss. I went on a weekend. I did it secretly, didn't tell him, and I went. While I was in Miami, I got a text from my boss that said, "Are you in Miami?" I don't know how he found out. And I lied again. I was like, "No, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm at my house." Because I couldn't have him know. I didn't want to screw up that job in case I didn't get the Miami job. Guess what? Didn't get the Miami job. So I had to go back to Panama City, and I still needed that job. But I could have screwed that job up if they would have known I was in Miami trying to leave that gig. Right? And so that's where I sympathize with Liam a little bit. Now, again, I don't like the fact that he used the kid as the excuse. Right? I don't like that he dodged the bullet, because I do think that he could have been honest with Todd Bowles. And he was, kind of. When he finally did speak to Todd Bowles, he told him he was going to go back to Jacksonville. The only thing is when he talked to Todd Bowles, he was already in Jacksonville. That was already leaked. Somebody inside the building in Jacksonville leaked the news to somebody at One Buck Place. So the Buccaneers knew. I will say this. What I am excited for is the rivalry this is going to bring in the state. Now, we don't play the Jaguars very often, but I do like the little rivalry this is going to add to the in-state, stuff. It's going to be exciting next time these two teams meet, if Liam Coen is still even the coach. So I understand both sides. By the way, if you missed it, Liam Coen did put out a statement. This is really more of a statement to, Jags fans more than anything. But the statement from Liam Coen on becoming the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars says, it's an opportunity of a lifetime and one I'm going to run with to instill a championship culture and winning tradition here in Duval. This doesn't happen without the support and opportunities that my family and I have been afforded throughout my career, especially during the past season in Tampa Bay. We thank Todd Bowles for his continued support and the entire Buccaneers organization for the experience and know they will have success ahead. Most of all, we are grateful to Shad Khan. That's the part that makes you go, ugh, really? For his belief in what we will bring to the Jaguars. We will work tirelessly to reward his confidence. As head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, I will hire a first-class coaching staff, establish a distinctive and effective brand of football on both sides of the ball, and our players will live for the black and teal. Shad and Jaguars fans should expect nothing less, and that's what we plan to deliver and more. My wife Ashley and our family are honored to be here and a part of the Jacksonville community. We are ready to get to work. I've done radio in Jacksonville. It's not a great place. I would never go back there. Those are the darkest days of my life. But I did see Bucs fans, tweeting about Liam Coen at his wife because his wife did put something out on Twitter saying like, our kid really is sick. He didn't make any of that up. And the Bucs fans were obviously responding to that and trashing her husband. Let's be better than that. If you want to trash her husband, that's fair. Go for it. You should. Just don't at her. Right? Like, let him go. I think that the Buccaneers are going to be absolutely fine. Has Liam Coen become the biggest sports villain in Tampa Bay? 888-546-4620 is the phone number. Haven't opened the phone lines up on the show yet. Would love to hear from you guys this morning. Has Liam Coen become the biggest villain in Tampa Bay sports? I want to know if he isn't, who still is. If he has become the biggest villain in Tampa Bay sports, who was the biggest villain before him? So let's talk about villains in Tampa Bay, because I think right now Liam Coen is probably at the top of the list. I think after what he pulled, he is number one biggest villain in Tampa Bay sports. By the way, you can also text in 82945 on the Bartow Ford DAE text line. But I think after this weekend, Liam Coen's got to be number one. Number two, probably anybody on the New York Yankees. I think Brad Marchand is probably somebody that we don't like in Tampa Bay. I think that Brad Marchand is just someone nobody likes outside of Boston. There's something about Brad Marchand that I just don't like. I think Marshawn Lattimore was probably at the top of that list at some time, at some point. Now that he's with Washington, it doesn't really matter. He's also aging. And I know the Commanders got the best of us that week, but Mike took Marshawn to school, and it was just, you hate to see it. But I want to line up the phone calls right now. Biggest villain in Tampa Bay sports. Is it Liam Coen? And if it is Liam Coen, who was it before Liam? I'd be surprised if anyone has another answer other than Liam Coen right now, because it's obviously so fresh. 888-546-4620. That is the phone number. We'll get your text. We'll get to your calls. Coming up next, biggest sports villain in Tampa Bay. Who is it? We'll take your calls next.
Tampa Bay Sports Radio, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
Get your most accurate home value estimate at DuncanDuo.com.
Men, if you're suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, Prestige Men's Medical Center will get your sex life back in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough medical treatments eliminate ED and PE. Here's a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Simovitz. Have Viagra or Cialis let you down? Prestige Men's Medical Center offers the most effective treatments that eliminate ED and PE, with men lasting longer than ever. 98% of patients see instant results on their first visit.
Prestige Men's Medical Center's breakthrough treatments will restore your sex life
The Nick Wize Show on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
Talking biggest sports villains in Tampa Bay sports. Liam Coen probably at the top of the list. You're free to mention him. If Liam Coen is the biggest sports villain in Tampa Bay, before he pulled this stunt and left for Jacksonville, who was your biggest sports villain in Tampa Bay sports? It's Nick Wize, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. Good morning. It is Saturday. The sun is shining. It is Gasparilla Day, too. One of my favorite days in all of Tampa Bay. And, shout out to the city of Tampa and the NFL for, working together to make sure there are no playoff games today. We appreciate you for that. It always works out perfectly. Gasparilla always the Saturday before Championship Sunday. We don't ever have to worry about missing football. I know a lot of people might not notice that, but I do. And I do appreciate that. So thank you to the fine folks that put on this great parade and just great day in our city. All right. Biggest sports villains in Tampa Bay sports. You can text in 82945. You can also call in 888-546-4620. Couple text messages. Sorry. A couple text messages in here. Brad Marchand, the Bruins, little ball of hate who has repeatedly frustrated Lightning fans with his antics and skills. Yeah, he also licked a player on the ice at one point in time. And I mentioned Brad Marchand before the break. Like, he's just a guy, I don't know. There's something about Brad Marchand, punchable face. I don't like the guy. Here's a good one. Yankees fans. They show up in droves in Tropicana Field, drowning out the Rays faithful. That's true. Whenever the Yankees are in town, it's going to be a full crowd at the Trop, and the Yankees are going to have the home field advantage. Yankees fans, biggest sports villains in Tampa Bay. I like it. Jameis Winston, that's not a name I thought I'd see on here. Loved by some, but his turnovers on and off the field issues left many Bucs fans divided. I don't know if I could call Jameis Winston a sports villain in Tampa Bay. I think that he's a polarizing sports figure in Tampa Bay. You love him or you hate him. But I don't know if I could call him a villain. He's not at the level of Liam Coen. Let's go to David Hudson. Dave, you're on with the Nick Wize Show. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Nick. How you doing, dude?
I'm doing all right. It's Gasparilla Saturday and Championship Sundays tomorrow. Going to be a good weekend.
It is. Hey, the first thing that came to mind is, I don't know his name. I know you do. The original owner of the Buccaneers, the old man, the old man that treated everybody like crap, even his players, Stewart House or something like that.
Yeah, let me look it up. You talking about like the very first Buccaneers owner ever? Hugh Culverhouse?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, he owned the team from 74 to 94.
Exactly. The way he treated the team and everybody on that team, he was definitely a villain. The other one.
Well, he was a Florida tax lawyer and broker. What'd you expect?
Yeah. No, I agree. But that just came to mind. The other one, believe it or not, is Warren Sapp.
Really?
And I say that, because I look at Warren Sapp near the end of his career here, because of the way he treated fans and wouldn't give autographs and the way he treated the fans started turning on him. And when he left football and started going into broadcasting and got in trouble and everything, a lot of the fans are like, good for him, because that's how much hate was coming out of the fans near the end of his career.
So do you put Liam Coen number one now, or is he not the number one sports villain in Tampa Bay?
Obviously, I agree with you with Liam Coen. You move on. It's no big deal. The guys start. It's the NFL. It's business. It's just the way it is. Obviously, we would have loved to have him the way it happened, and it's kind of BS. But at the same time, this team offensively, I'll say this. Liam Coen has shown the Buccaneers, the organization, what to do offensively. And if the next offensive guy comes in, we don't continue doing what we did this year to next year, then we deserve to lose our games. That's just my opinion. I think running comes first. You know, we're a running team, like it or not.
No, we like it, Dave. We've become a running team, and we're able to run the football right down people's throats. It's something we have wanted for so long in Tampa Bay after we struggled at the end of the Brady years, and even in year one of Baker Mayfield, they struggled to run. And look how much better Baker Mayfield is with a running game, right? It just makes all the difference in the world for your pass game. I mean, look, when you look at Liam Cohen's resume, it's no surprise that he left after 1 year. There's not many places that he's been for more than a year. He was the Browns quarterback coach in 2010. Then he went to Rhode Island in 2011. He was back to Brown, not the Browns, actually. This is Brown University. Then he was back to Brown for 2 years. Then to UMass for 2 years. Maine for 2 years. Rams for a year. 3 years. Kentucky for a year, back to the Rams for a year, back to Kentucky for a year, then Tampa Bay for a year. You know, so it's no surprise that the guy just bounced around and left. Now, I don't think that anyone's being honest with themselves if they said they wouldn't do the same thing. Now, maybe you probably handle it better. I've tried to put myself in Liam Cohen's shoes. Like, I try to think about if somebody was offering me, you know, $9 million more. You know, what would I do? If the only way I could get that extra $9 million was to be a scumbag and, you know, have to go behind everyone's back in lies, would I do it? And I've been thinking about this all night. And I've re-asked myself the question over and over, and I continue to come up with the same answer. And the answer is yes. I would. I would. And I know none of you would like it. You know, if I'm this great play caller and I'm running the box offense and having a great year, and then all of a sudden I leave. But man, that's like life-changing money. And after rethinking the question and re-asking myself over and over, not once have I said, you know what? I don't want to be a scum. I'll take less money. No, I've sold out because I see the 7 zeros after the. Well, actually, it's an 8-digit. I think they're offering Ben Johnson money. 8 digits, 13 mil. You know, it'd be hard to say no. Doesn't mean I don't hate the guy for doing it. But on the business front, I look at it and I probably would have did the same. Now, I hope that you're not judging me thinking, oh, man, you're a horrible person. But you know what? Anybody on the staff of this radio station, if they had to go behind my back to take another job at a different radio station because they were being offered so much more money, I would expect every person at this radio station to not tell me, go get as much money as you want, you know? So I look at it that way too. But again, as a fan, you have every right to be pissed. That's why he is the villain of Tampa Bay sports right now. You should be mad. You don't have to like him, and you probably don't. But I do think on the surface, you have to understand why. Again, you don't like the way he did it. I get that. But you have to understand why he did it the way he did it. And I'm not standing up for him, and I hope it doesn't come across that way. But I'm just trying to look at it from a different angle, right? Everybody's come on here and said, oh, what a scum. He's a jerk. I hate the way he did it. I'm trying to look at it from a different perspective. You know, if you work at, let's say, Lowe's, and Home Depot is offering you double the pay, and the only way you can take the job at Home Depot is by not telling your manager at Lowe's, I think you're going to go take the meeting with Home Depot. You know, I think the real person in you just has to. Now, everybody that works at Lowe's is going to hate you for not giving them a 2 weeks notice and a heads up. But I don't think you're going to care once you're at Home Depot making double the money. That's just an analogy. I don't know if Home Depot pays more or not. Was it even a good analogy? I tried to relate it to the common folks like you and I, and I'm trying to put his situation in common folks' situation to explain why I understand the move, right? Hate it, but understand it. George in Apollo Beach, you're on the Nick Wize Show. What's up, George? Who's the biggest villain in Tampa Bay sports?
I'm going to say right now, everybody's thinking Liam. But, I'll also give you a different perspective. I really think the villain should be the crappy ownership of Jacksonville's team. Like, to know that you're interviewing coaches and nobody wants to coach for your GM and go through that process and interview and then fire your GM after the fact, they're the ones that really caused all this. For Liam, yeah, I'm sure if he could go back, he might do a couple things different. But, not knowing what's going on the inside, I'm sure it was very fluid. It all happened in such a short period of time. But I put this squarely on Jacksonville's leadership.
Yeah, no, I agree, George. And I look at it like this. I almost think that Liam Coen never actually pulled. I'm wondering if and this is me just kind of digging into everything we know. I almost wonder if Liam Coen never actually pulled himself out of that situation. It was more of a negotiating tactic and also a public front because Jacksonville had not solidified the Rooney Rule yet. They had not gotten the 2 interviews on the books that they needed to do before they could hire Liam Coen. And they didn't want Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator of the Raiders, they didn't want him to cancel his trip. And so they had to keep it quiet that Liam Coen was the guy. And I wonder if Liam Coen and the Jaguars were kind of in on this lie together and kind of made up the whole story. It kind of makes you wonder, was this all a big front so Jacksonville could satisfy the Rooney Rule?
Right. Yeah, I'll also just add, if it's not Coen as far as the biggest villain, I was thinking maybe Antonio Brown, biggest villain / clown. I don't know.
George, I agree. I mean, the moment of him walking off the field at MetLife Stadium in the middle of a game was one of the most wild moments in the NFL. And to think of all the things that he says about Tom Brady on Twitter after, Tom Brady, went out and brought him here, gave him a place to live. I think the difference between Antonio Brown and Liam Coen, not to cut any slack from Antonio Brown, but CTE, I know it's not a pass on everything, but he's got a mental health excuse where Liam Coen just, he just kind of looked out for himself and did what he did and kind of left us all hanging here.
Right. All right, brother. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, George. I appreciate it, man. So many good ones about villains in Tampa Bay. I like it. Let's take one more call here before we hit the break. Brian in St. Pete. Brian, you got a villain for us?
It's maybe not be a villain, but like your analogy I liked about Home Depot and Lowe's and, someone like Steven Stamkos and what he meant to Tampa and then heading to Nashville. I'll hang up and listen.
All right. Well, I would say Stamkos kind of did the same thing, but not really because Stamkos got the offer, but I mean, actually, that's a really good one. The situations are kind of the same in a way, but Stamkos, he never left. He made it clear that he wanted to be here. He got more money, and he went with the more money, but he didn't take the hate from Tampa Bay. Julian Breezebois took the hate. Stammer didn't. Nobody really hated on Stamkos for leaving. They all blame Julian Breezebois. And I think it's the way that Stamkos handled himself. He didn't make up a lie. If Liam Coen would have just went to the Jaguars, I don't think Tampa Bay fans are outraged right now. It's the way that he left, and that I understand. And I don't want that to be lost to make it sound like I'm defending Liam Coen, because I'm not. I understand from a person, like I'm a person who is out here trying to live and make as much money as I can. So, and I think all of you are kind of doing the same. So from a business standpoint, we understand what Liam did, but as a person, that's the part we can't get over and how he handled it. And that's the difference between Stamkos and Liam Coen and them both leaving. Stammer handled himself professionally. He didn't lie to the Lightning. He just said, hey, they offered me more money, I'm going. And if that's how Liam Coen would have just came out and did it, hey, they offered me more money, I'm going. I don't think there's the backlash we're having today. And also, if I'm Liam Coen and they fired Trent Baalke for you, I think it's pretty clear you're going to get the job. I do think that you could have been straight up with the Buccaneers. I do think if you tell the Buccaneers organization, look, they just fired the general manager. Things are kind of changing. I know that we just had this settlement and you guys are going to make me the highest paid coordinator, and I appreciate that. But now that they fired the manager, I would like to, look at this opportunity again. And I think if he's straight up honest with, Jason Light and the Glazers, I don't think they're going to pull that offer they gave him. I still think it's going to be on the table for him to fall back on. I do think Liam Coen could have gone that route. And he didn't. And that's why the front office feels the way they did, because he ultimately did him dirty. So the Dallas Cowboys did something great last night. You think things are bad here since we don't have an offensive coordinator? The Dallas Cowboys got to make you appreciate Jason Light so much more. Now, they hired a head coach. It's not who they hired, but it's how the hiring went down. I want to talk about this coming up next.
Tampa Bay Sports Radio 90.
Oh, good to have you along on a Gasparilla Saturday in Tampa Bay. The Nick Wize Show until 11 o'clock. Chris and Casey coming up after me. Rock Riley at 1 o'clock, and Aaron Jacobson will be here at 2, live and local till 3 o'clock today. Got you covered with your Tampa Bay sports. We were discussing Liam Coen a couple minutes ago, talking about is he the biggest sports villain in Tampa Bay? You can go back and listen to that on the free iHeartRadio app. Just search The Nick Wize Show. I want to get into a couple things here. This Paul Skeens rookie card drama is an incredible story with an 11-year-old. I want to talk about that first. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys. They hired Brian Schottenheimer last night, the son of Marty, who's been, an assistant head coach for the Cowboys, and he's been, part of their. He was the offensive coordinator, but didn't call any plays, and he's been around for a long time, mainly as an assistant, no head coaching experience, and the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys, America's team, right? Hired maybe the worst coaching candidate available. This guy was not on the list of any other team. And, look, it's Jerry Jones just having a pawn in the game. This is a guy that will, allow Jerry Jones to have full control of the organization, which Jerry wants, and that's why it's never going to work there. But it's funny that they made this hire late on a Friday night. That is we call that a Friday night news dump. If you want something to really go under the radar, you do it Friday night after 5 o'clock when everything is shutting down for the weekend. That way the shows like First Take that are kind of annoying and only talk about the Cowboys, they got to wait 2 days to speak on this, right? And it's the Cowboys, so it doesn't really cool down, but it still cools it down, and the conversations will take place 3 days after it happens rather than moments after it happens. So they did it on a Friday news dump. That was strategic. They knew their hire was bad. I really don't understand the point of it. If you're Jerry Jones and you're trying to win a Super Bowl before you die, I don't think this is the right move. And I know there was conversations that him and Coach Prime were talking, but Jerry is a guy that doesn't like to do buyouts. I thought to myself, well, maybe he's hiring Brian Schottenheimer as a temporary coach, waiting for Deion's contract to be up. But Deion's still got 3 more years in Colorado before his deal is up, where it wouldn't cost the Cowboys any money to hire him. And where's Jerry Jones in 3 years? I mean, the guy's not getting any younger. So I don't know if that's the play. But really odd move by the Dallas Cowboys, and it just makes you appreciate the front office of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that much more. The Buccaneers, they don't screw up their coaching hires. And I know a lot of you aren't happy with Todd Bowles, but I'm not talking about Todd. I'm talking about more of along the lines of their offensive coordinators the last couple of years. They found success. Dave Canales got a head coaching job. Wish he would have stayed 1 more year so we could have got those third-round draft picks for him, being a minority coach. Liam Coen comes for a year. He's off to Jacksonville. See ya. The front office of the Bucs, they know how to hire coaches. The Dallas Cowboys clearly do not. And I'm just happy that we don't have that issue here right now. Something else that made national news this week of the story that I'm just kind of fascinated by. And I want you to, let's put this into Tampa Bay perspectives. Would you take the raise up on this offer if you were offered this? So the story is an 11-year-old card collector pulled the Paul Skeens 1-of-1 debut patch card. So it's a rookie card. It's got like a piece of his jersey in it, I guess. And it's worth a lot. It's autographed by Paul Skeens as well. And it's worth a lot of money because Paul Skeens is set to be, the next best thing in baseball. He's really good. Had a dominant rookie season, and he's a really good pitcher. And the future's high, right? You're probably excited if you're a Pirates fan, which nobody listening is. But, Paul Skeens is going to be a superstar, or we think he is. And the card's going to be worth a lot of money. So here's what the Pirates offered the 11-year-old kid who is from L.A. They offered him a pretty good package, and he turned it down. And I want you to think put your mindset in the mindset of a Rays fan. Would you accept this deal? So he was offered 2 Pirates season tickets behind home plate for the next 30 years. All right, so in the mindset of a Tampa Bay fan, you're getting Rays tickets behind home plate for 30 years. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, I'm not going to take that deal because what if the Rays leave? No, I've already negotiated it with the Rays. If they leave, you're getting $1 million. All right? I'm going to throw that out there right now. If the Rays leave, you get $1 million. But if they don't, you get 2 tickets behind home plate for the next 30 years. The 11-year-old also would get a meet and greet with Paul Skeens. 2 Paul Skeens signed jerseys. Would also attend a Pirates game with Livy Dunn in her suite. That's where I accept the offer. Plus, they offered him a couple other things, too. And the 11-year-old was like, nope, I'm good. I'm not trying to go to Pirates games. I'm not trying to hang out with Livy Dunn. See, it's because the kid was 11. If the kid was 18 or 19, he would have sold out for the Livy Dunn suite, just like a lot of us. And if you don't know who Livy Dunn is, Google. But I think a majority of our listeners know. At least I would think they do. So the kid turned down the deal. Now, if the Rays offered you 30 years of season tickets behind home plate, wouldn't you take that for the baseball card? I think you could make a lot of money, even if you sold every ticket. Especially this year. I heard season tickets behind home plate are pretty expensive. Let's say you could sell each ticket on average for $200 behind home plate. Is that fair? Is that too much? I don't ever get to buy tickets behind home plate. If I'm buying tickets, I'm going to be sitting in the outfield. I'm just trying to get in. Let's say they're $200. I might be overpricing Rays tickets. Let's say they're $150. Home plate club, though? No, they're probably $200. I'm going to use $200 because we're talking home plate club. So 162. So it's 81 games times 30. That's $2,430 times 200. Times 2. Yeah, you're making almost $1 million. Nah, I guess I'm going to turn the deal down. I want $1 million cash. So the kid's actually going to take the card to an auction, and it'll be sold at an auction. Basically, he's got to get about $800,000 for this card to be worth more than what the Pirates gave him. It was broken down. The season tickets would be worth about $600,000 to $700,000, paid out $20,000 to $30,000 annually. And then if they ever get good and go to a World Series, that would add another $15,000 for those years. Can the kid sell the card for more than $1 million? I don't know if he can sell the card for $1 million. If someone pays $1 million for a sports card, especially, Paul Skeens, you don't know if he's going to be good. That card could totally turn around and be worth nothing. I'm flip-flopping. I'm taking the season tickets from the Rays. If the Rays offered me 30 years of season tickets, they can have the card. If it was a rookie's card of Shane McClanahan, it's yours. See ya. Give me the season tickets. I then become a businessman. My wife and I had the idea of doing that a couple weeks ago. She's like, can't we just buy season tickets and sell them? I'm like, I guess. Let's try it. So then I started Googling it. Yeah, you can't do that. They'll catch you. If you're going to try to sell your tickets, you can't sell them on Ticketmaster, StubHub. The organizations will catch on to what you're doing. So we're not going to do that idea. But yeah, no, I'd take the season tickets. I'd sell them and be able to go to any game I want. But bold strategy from the 11-year-old turning down the suite with Livy Dunn. I thought that was funny. Again, if he's an 18-year-old kid, I don't think he's turning down that suite, but he's 11, so he's like, Livy Dunn, I don't care about you. All right, we've talked a lot about Liam Coen and him leaving. We haven't talked a lot about, who could replace Liam Coen. I want to go over some possible replacements, some candidates for the job. There's a couple that I named yesterday who are already off the table, but I got a couple others. So I want to go over the list of candidates of who could replace Liam Coen for the Buccaneers offensive coordinator position. Feel free to call in 888-546-4620 if you got a name you want to throw in the hat, somebody you'd like to see the Bucs hire. Would love to hear your suggestions. You can also text in 829 because I don't know where they're going to go. I'm just saying these are some names that you're going to see to be candidates. And some names that you're going to hear over the next couple of days. I think one, NFC South. He knows the division. And I think a lot of people actually had the same suggestion yesterday when T-Kraz was on, because I'm reading a couple of the text messages from yesterday. And there was a couple mentions for Clint Kubiak. And I know your first thought is, well, like, didn't this guy just get fired in New Orleans? He ain't there no more. The Saints suck. Yeah, but remember the Saints in the beginning of the year? Remember when they were putting up all these points? They had the highest scoring offense there for a couple of weeks, and I know it kind of fizzled out. Injuries, lack of talent, definitely, part of that. Clint Kubiak, though, is a scheme guy. We like scheme guys in Tampa Bay, right? Liam Coen was a good scheme guy. Dave Canales was a good scheme guy. Clint Kubiak is a name that I think you're going to hear. Familiar with the NFC South, good scheme guy. I think he could do really good things with the Buccaneers offense. They got a lot more talent than the New Orleans Saints have. Also, he's got Super Bowl blood in his DNA. He's the son of Gary Kubiak, who won a Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos. Won it based on defense, but still. So Clint Kubiak is a name that I think you're going to hear a lot. Here's one that, I think people are quick to dismiss, but I don't understand why. And I think it's because you think of him as a head coach more than you do just an offensive coordinator. I'm going to throw this name out there, and your first reaction as you're driving down the road or driving to your Gasparilla party right now is going to be, no way. But what about Chip Kelly? See, you did it. You just now went, no way. But think about Chip Kelly as just the offensive coordinator, not Chip Kelly, the head coach. Right? Chip Kelly just won a national championship as an offensive coordinator with Ohio State. Outside of his game plan against Michigan, he was pretty good. I still don't understand why they were trying to run the ball up the middle, but I think that was more of a Ryan Day thing, trying to prove we're tough. Not really a Chip Kelly thing. Chip Kelly likes to spread it out, and he likes to run. And that would work here in Tampa Bay. You spread out Mike Evans, Godwin, and McMillan, and then you run it up the gut with Bucky Irving. That's exactly what we want to do. And you want to know the greatest part about Chip Kelly of all? You ain't got to worry about him leaving for a head coaching job. Nobody's going to consider him for that. Chip Kelly is never going to be a head coach in the NFL ever again. And I think Chip Kelly's okay with that. I think he proved last year that he doesn't need to be a head coach because he left UCLA to become a coordinator with another program. He wasn't fired from UCLA. He just chose to leave and give up the head coaching duties. I've always said this. I think being an offensive coordinator would be so much more fun than being a head coach. I mean, look at Ben Johnson, who just went to the Chicago Bears. He just went from just worrying about the offense and calling plays and dialing up wide receiver passes in the biggest playoff game of his career, interception, to now running the entire organization. And he's not just calling plays. Now you're answering emails about things outside of football. I don't want to do that. To me, I think being a coordinator would be so much better of a job. I understand there's a lot more money as a head coach, but screw that. I don't want the replacement or the responsibilities of the whole franchise. Just let me run my group. So, I think Chip Kelly would be a great offensive coordinator. I wouldn't be quick to dismiss that name. And again, if he has a good year next season, he's still here in 2026 because he's not getting offered a head coaching job. Now, another hire, this one would be similar to Dave Canales. That is Josh McCown. Josh McCown is currently the quarterback's coach for the Minnesota Vikings. And I say that this is a similar hire to Dave Canales because he's a young guy, hasn't called plays, but the way Dave Canales kind of revived Geno Smith, played a factor in Baker Mayfield. Josh McCown is the same Quarterback coach that had the media talking about paying Sam Darnold $50 million a year, right? Now, I don't think Sam Darnold's getting that money now after his last 2 games, but for the most part, all year long, he played really good. People were considering Sam Darnold as an MVP candidate. That was crazy talk, but it was talked about. All right, Josh McCown played a role into that, similar to Dave Canales' role with Geno Smith. Now, another name, kind of in the Chip Kelly realm of things, it's a guy that wouldn't, well, real quick, before I get to that, the thing with Josh McCown, though, if he has a successful season, I do think he would get looked at as head coaching opportunities because everybody's looking for the next young offensive mind, right? That's what Dave Canales was. That's what Liam Coen was. Everybody wants the Sean McVay and the Kyle Shanahan. Josh McCown could end up falling under that, and he could be a one-and-done guy. Now, here's a guy that wouldn't be a one-and-done guy. He won a Super Bowl as an offensive coordinator. He's been a head coach twice. I thought he did an okay job in Indianapolis. When he was in Carolina, I really don't think it was his fault. He didn't want Bryce Young. He wanted C.J. Stroud. Ownership said, nope, you're going to get Bryce Young. And he was fired midway through the season in Bryce Young's rookie year, and that's Frank Reich. But this guy won a Super Bowl in Philly with Nick Foles as his quarterback. And guess what? If he's got a good year here in Tampa Bay, he'll be back for year 2. You're not going to lose him to the next coaching carousel because I don't think Frank Reich is, at this point in his life, looking to become a head coach again. He's been there. He's done that. I don't think that NFL teams are, again, looking for the old offensive mind. They want the new young guy. Unless you're the Raiders, then you pick the oldest coach you can find. Defense. If you don't know, they hired Pete Carroll yesterday. And then if you want to look in-house, I think the biggest in-house name you're going to see is Josh Grizzard. This is a guy that survived a couple regime changes multiple times with the Miami Dolphins before he came over to the Buccaneers. I think he's the most high-risk, high-reward hire that you could have. Now, the threat to him is just like the last 2 young guys you hired. If he becomes just this incredible offensive coordinator, he's going to get looked at head coaching jobs. Now, I think the inexperience that he has, compared to Liam Coen and Dave Canales, I don't think he'd be a head coach right away. I think he's like 34 years old. So I think you would get him for a couple of years, even if he found success. But you never know. I didn't think Dave Canales was going to get a job. And, here we are. Dave Canales got a job. A lot faster than I thought. But, Josh Grizzard, again, high risk, high reward guy. He is a big part of the Buccaneers' success on third down. And so I think that's probably the front runner of names inside One Buck Place to become the next offensive coordinator if they want to hire within. There was a couple names that I put out yesterday on social media. Those guys are gone. Hank Fraley was one of them. He was the offensive line coach in Detroit. Detroit produced a really good offensive line. I can only imagine what he could do at Tristan Wirfs and company. But he's re-signed with Detroit to become, I don't know what he is. Not an offensive coordinator, but he got a promotion, so he's staying. Antoine Randall was another name that I mentioned. Just because everyone's going after the Detroit coaching staff. But Antoine Randall signed with the Chicago Bears to be the assistant head coach yesterday. So those are the candidates. Feel free to text in 82945. Who do you want to see hired as an offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers if you got a name? You can also call in 888-546-4620 is the phone number. Got a couple people on hold. We'll get to your calls next. Also, I want to talk about your worst day ever as a sports fan. I think last weekend might have been mine. There was a 3-day stretch that was just brutal for me. We'll talk about that coming up next.
Tampa Bay Sports Radio, 95.3 WDAE and Tampa Bay, Nick Wize on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
Oh, wow. We got breaking news on the show. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have requested an interview with an offensive assistant who is a pass game specialist. We'll talk about that in just a couple of moments. I'll let you know who that is, and we'll dive in and try to see if this could be the guy. Before we get to that, I want to go to Bob in Tampa. Bob wants to talk about who he would like to see as the offensive coordinator here in Tampa Bay for the Buccaneers with Liam Coen on his way to Jacksonville. Bob, I got you on the Nick Wize Show. What's up, man? Good morning.
Hey, what's going on, Nick? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Can't complain.
I know everybody's gonna, I told your call filter guy who the name. I know everybody's going to dismiss this, but I think it would be a great combination. John Gruden as offensive coordinator. I think him and Todd Bowles would be a good fit. They both like to run the ball. They're both old school, and I think it would work. John wants to get in the league, back in the league real bad. I mean, this could be a pathway to get him back in. You know, when he showed up in the Glazer Suites this past year, they kind of opened the door for that possibility, and why not? If you looked at Gruden loves football videos on YouTube, he loves Baker, he loves the pieces we have, and I think it would be a great fit, and I just wanted to hear your thoughts on it. I know as wild as it sounds, but why not John Gruden?
Yeah, I guess my thing to that, Bob, is do you think Gruden would take any job outside of a head coaching job? Because I think like the job is below him, right? Like I think that if you wanted to hire him for the head coach, I think he would take it. But I don't know if you could get Gruden to be the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. And right now, he's not really getting the opportunity. So I mean, do a season or two as an OC, and I mean, shoot, we go far in the playoffs, and next thing you know, he's a hot name to be the next head coach for some other team. But I don't know. Just wanted to. I appreciate you taking my call, but I think it would be a great fit if he would come. He's already living in Tampa. Why not? So,
that is true. Thanks for the call, Bob. I appreciate it. My thing with John Gruden is he wasn't that good with the Raiders the second time around when they got rid of him. If he was, they probably would have held on to him despite everything that happened because they're the Raiders. But that was their way out. Things weren't going good. That got him out of the contract. I think John Gruden with Todd Bowles, I think you kind of mentioned it on the call, Bob. They're both old school guys. I don't know if you want old school head coach and old school offensive coordinator. I don't know if you want that. I think you want a younger guy on the coaching staff that kind of relates to the players a little bit more and is more about today's version of the NFL. I think John Gruden is more of a name than an actual good candidate for this job. I think he would definitely, cause for excitement. I think we'd be pumped about that. But I don't know if I'm ready to. I don't think that'd be a good move. I don't. I still to this day think Gruden at this point in his life is more of a name than anything. It'll be interesting to see if he ever gets a job again. I think it's more of who's going to be the first person to give him a job. And I think Barstool kind of set the foundation by saying, hey, look, you can hire this guy. We're the first to do it. And maybe he finds his way back into football. But I don't know. And you know what? I kind of enjoy John Gruden as a broadcaster. Whether it's with Barstool or whether it's with calling games. That's where I wish we could get him back is in the booth. That's where I'd rather have him. I enjoyed him as a color commentator. I really enjoy him with Barstool. If you watch his videos, he's got a good story for everything. Just saw a video of him a couple days ago talking about Sebastian Janikowski being hammered during a game and making a kick. Like, he's a great storyteller. And I don't know if him and Bowles complement each other very well. I don't think you want to go old school and old school. You kind of need a younger guy in there to relate to your players. I hate to use Jim Harbaugh as the reference, but look at when Jim Harbaugh finally turned it around in Michigan. What did he do? Some of you may know, some of you may not. But Jim Harbaugh had some really good football teams in 2016 and 2018 and 19. But his Don Brown defenses weren't holding up. Ohio State was killing them with crossing routes. Our athletes are better than yours. Don Brown was stubborn. Didn't want to change anything up. Don Brown was old. So Jim Harbaugh went younger. Brought in Mike McDonald. Now he's the head coach in Seattle. Brought in Jesse Minter. Now he's the D coordinator of the number 1 defense with the Chargers. He got younger. So I think they got to go younger unless you're going to go with a guy like a Chip Kelly or Frank Reich who are still closer to today's game than John Gruden. And again, I don't see John Gruden taking a offensive coordinator job. I really don't. We were talking about the Paul Skeens baseball card a little bit ago. I think that's what Tucker wants to talk about here. If you missed it earlier, 11-year-old pulled a Paul Skeens baseball card that's worth a lot of money. The Pirates offered him 30 years worth of season tickets behind home plate. Livy Dunn offered him to watch a game in a suite, all for this card. And the kid's like, nope, I'm going to sell it at an auction. I think that's what Tucker's calling about. Tucker, and Holiday, I got you on the Nick Wize Show. What's up, man?
Hey, Nick, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. My first thought when you started that story was an 11-year-old kid pulled it from the West Coast.
Yep.
The Pirates are offering him that. Well, how is he supposed to get to that game?
Yeah, that was my thoughts, too. The only thing that I can think of is he would have the right to sell those tickets every single game is what I'm thinking.
What if Pittsburgh bought them a nice house, guaranteed his parents jobs, and because I think deep down that 11-year-old kid wants it, but I think that ultimately was his parents' decision.
If I was the kid, since he lives in L.A., I would have said, all right, give me 30 years of Dodger tickets. Then I'd take it. Those are worth money. Behind home plate?
Yeah. Yes. That was the first thing that came to my mind. Like, how is the kid supposed to get to the games?
It's a good question. I thought about that myself. I don't know. Again, I don't think there would be any intent to go to the games. Appreciate the call, Tucker. I think it would be sell the tickets, and it's a business decision, and you're getting your money back on that card. 30-year season tickets, home plate. You sell them to every single game, get that money back. Let's look at season tickets behind home plate Pirates. Let's see if we can find the price of these. No. So this is the problem. You can never actually see the price. You always got to talk to somebody. I did the same thing with the Lightning. I was looking at season tickets, and then I put in my phone number just to see what the prices are, and now they won't stop calling me. I'm like, no, I'm good. But they're like, hello, we'd like to talk to you again. But they're like, I want to talk to you about your extended car warranty, but it's tickets. I want to talk about worst day as a sports fan ever. I want you to think about it. You definitely have had, we all have, as sports fans. We take our sports serious. We somehow let these teams play a big part in our mood and our feelings and our emotions. We let a team really determine the outcome of how our day is going to go in our lives. And last weekend, I'm no different. Thought my life was over. It was the worst sports weekend of my life, quite possibly. And I've had quite a few sports moments that were horrible, as do you. And I want you to think about it. The worst sports weekend of your life. There was a game that took place where after it was over, your team had lost, something dramatic may have happened in the game, and you lost sleep over it for a week. Maybe it was a football game, and then the very next day, you lose a playoff game. The very next day, you don't even have it in you to watch the rest of the playoff games in the NFL because you're just too disappointed in the Bucs. I want you to think about that moment because I'm sure there's a couple that stand out to you. Last weekend for me, just like you guys, I had my team that I grew up on knocked out by the Commanders. So we're all on the same pedestal there. Commanders took out the Bucs. Then they take out the Lions. The Commanders take out my two favorite teams, and I'm sitting here like, I got two teams and none are left. This sucks. I did not enjoy Buffalo and Baltimore last week like I should have because I was depressed. I had no desire to watch those games. I watched them on Sunday, but I was depressed. I didn't enjoy it. I just kept thinking, man, the Bucs and the Lions should be playing right now, and they're not because of the Commanders. And then to top it all off, the team that I hate more than any other team, the Ohio State Buckeyes on Monday win the national championship. That was a rough weekend in sports for me. Thank God we had Monday off for MLK Day because I needed it. I needed the mental health day. And we let sports do this to us. But what was your worst experience, like most heartbreak you've ever had as a fan? And last weekend might have been it for me. And the Lions have been trashed my whole life. My whole life, I've really had to kind of root for the Bucs and Tom Brady. And Tom Brady before he got to the Bucs, because he went to Michigan. That kind of made me a fan because my team stinks. Finally, they're good, and then they stink again. It was a rough weekend. I remember being pissed in the 90s. There's a Bucs game that I'm still not over. I was a really big Tony Dungy fan, and I think it's because we hail from the same state. But I remember being so pissed in 1999. You guys know where I'm going with this. The Burt Emanuel catch that was overturned against the Rams, NFC Championship game. Pat Summerall and John Madden are like, I don't think you can take that one away. And Pat's like, I agree, John. The referees go to the replay booth. Remember back then they had that big monitor they'd go look at. They'd put their head over the curtain. It was like very dramatic. It's like, what are they looking at in there? And they somehow overturned it. And you would have went on to be the favorites in that Super Bowl against Tennessee. And you lost 11-6. And again, my love for Tony Dungy, that game pissed me off because I felt like you were screwed. Now, there's no way of telling that the Bucs ever would have finished that drive to take the lead, but to have a catch taken away when it was clearly a catch, there's no way you didn't lose sleep after that game in 1999. That was a tough one. That stung. Worst day as a sports fan in Tampa Bay. What's that memory that comes to mind? The one that kept you up at night for days after the game. 888-546-4620 is the number. Go ahead and call in. We'll also take your text messages, 82945. And we will take your calls and texts coming up in 2 minutes.
Tampa Bay Sports Radio 95.3 WDAE and AM 620 presents
State's offensive coordinator before joining Sean McVay's staff in 2024. So the Bucs have gone to the Sean McVay coaching tree before, and they may be looking to go back to the Sean McVay coaching tree once again. Hey, it worked out once. Might as well pick your, I don't know where I was going to go with this, pick your fruit from the same, I don't know. You get where I was going. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But you struck gold once in L.A. under Sean McVay. Maybe do it again. We'll see how that turns out. I'd imagine we're going to see the Bucs requesting quite a few interviews over the next couple of days. All right, we're talking about, just heartbreaking days that you've had as a sports fan. And the reason we bring it up is because last weekend might have been the most heartbreaking one I've ever had in my entire life as a sports fan. It was definitely the worst sports weekend for me, right? Kind of followed by back-to-back weeks. Right, I've got two NFL teams, the team that I cover, the Bucs, and the team that I grew up on, the Lions. I love them both. The Bucs winning, it's good for my business. It's good for my job here. Keeps me employed. The Bucs are part of my livelihood. The Lions, they're just part of me growing up, right? It's how I relate to my father and my brothers. And losing the Lions and the Bucs to the same team, heartbreaking. And after the Commanders eliminated the Lions after their best season ever, the Ohio State Buckeyes went on to win the national championship on Monday. Oh, just stick the knife in me and twist, because that's what it felt like. So I'm turning it over to you guys. I want you to think about that time as a sports fan, because we've all done it, where we allow sports to control our emotions and control our lives. And it's sick. And I don't understand it, right? Like, why do I care whether these guys I've never met win or not? If they win a Super Bowl, I don't get a ring. I don't get a paycheck. But somehow I care. And we all do. That's what's great about sports. I'm going to knock down a couple texts, then we're going to go to the phones and take your calls on this. 888-546-4620. This is from Jesse in St. Pete. It says, Game 7 of the 2011 Eastern Conference Finals. Lightning lost to the Bruins. Heartbreaker. Yeah, that was a 1-0 game. Third period goal from Nathan Horton. Dwayne Rollison played so well in net that day. He had nearly 40 saves. That was definitely a rough one to lose. Chance to go to the Stanley Cup Finals. No penalties were called in that game. The NFL could never. Another one. The Bucs losing to the Rams in the NFC Championship game in 1999. That's from Mark in Largo. Yeah, I talked about that. That one pissed me off because I was a big Tony Dungy fan as a kid. Bert Emanuel, you cannot convince me that wasn't a catch. It's plays like that drive me nuts about the NFL. You know how upset I was last week watching that Chiefs game? When Pat Mahomes was running out of bounds, then he decided to stay in bounds, then he gave himself up. Two Texans players collided with each other and got flagged. Yeah, the NFL could never have a game now in the NFC Championship with no penalties. Just wouldn't happen. But that was definitely a depressing game for sure. The Bucs were coming off of a big comeback against Washington. They won that game 14-13 after being down 13-0. You thought that momentum would carry over into the Rams game. They only put up 6 points. That was supposed to be, you think if it was going to be a defensive battle against the Rams, you're a 14-point underdog against them in that game. You would have thought that was exactly how you wanted the game to play out, because the Rams were the high-scoring powered offense. It played out the way you wanted it to. You just unfortunately lost 11-6, but you should have won that game. And maybe if that catch by Bert Emanuel is actually ruled a catch, you do win, but we'll never know. I don't know if the drive would have continued or not. But that was a damn catch. John Madden literally goes, you can't overturn that. Pat Summerall goes, I agree. I'll never forget it. They played that game on concrete. Remember the stadiums back then? They were literally like concrete with carpet over top of it. The Rays Game 6 loss in the 2020 World Series. Why pull Snell? That's from Tim in Tampa. I know, Tim. What drives me nuts is now two of the best pitchers from that team now play for L.A., Blake Snell and Glasnow. The Rays wild card loss game in Boston 2021. I was so hyped for that run. Yeah, that was a 13-inning loss. Game 3. Walk-off, too. Playoff baseball is like a whole different level of anxiety. Last one here, and then we'll go to the phones. Obviously, nothing more disappointing than the collapse to the Blue Jackets, but losing the first-round series to Toronto hurt. They hadn't won a playoff game series in years. I was on my honeymoon for that. Watched that game at a bar in Utah. You know, you have to order a food in order to order a beer in Utah. So annoying. I could never live in Utah. All right, worst day as a sports fan in Tampa Bay, Charlie. What's that memory that stands out? Charlie's over in Tampa. You're on the Nick Wize Show.
I'm a transplant, so I'm going to go from my hometown. You brought up a lot of hurt and pain. May 21st,
Charlie, can you do me a favor? Can you take me off speakerphone, and I'm going to come right back to you, okay?
Yes.
Let's go to John in Valrico. John, worst day as a sports fan.
Nick, first off, I'm excited to hear that you're on the radio, especially from Pan Air, and I listen to you all the time. But 2002, New York Giants, San Francisco 49ers. In San Francisco, the Giants had to sign Trey Junkin to be the long snapper. Matt Allen's the holder, and Kerry Collins was playing for the Giants. That was the day my dad taught me. He said, you know, Johnny, listen, sometimes you have to understand they're going on vacation afterwards, but the snap comes. Matt Allen botches the snap. Then the offensive line goes out for a pass to try to score, and he gets pulled down for pass interference where there's no call. I must have probably threw my football against the TV so hard that it cracked it, because that day, especially as a Giants fan living down here in Tampa Bay, just broke my heart when I was living up there in Connecticut. It was just absolutely no call. And again, the refs kept the little beanbag actually in their pocket that time. But I'll listen. Thanks so much for being on.
John, didn't he lost me. Come on, guys. Let's have a conversation. You don't got to hang up on me. I'll talk to you. I think the Niners erased like a 24-point deficit that day. Oh, that would be heartbreaking. Let's go to Gabe in Seminole. Gabe, you're on the Nick Wize Show. Your worst day as a sports fan. What game stands out to you?
It's got to be the Buccaneers in the NFC Championship in 1999 with the local boy, Sean King, as the quarterback. And I was 25, grew up in St. Pete, knew Gibbs High, went to St. Pete High. And, man, it was just our offense. And it's crazy. It was the offensive coordinator, Mike Shula, and Tony just had too much loyalty to him. But, you know, and then Gruden just steps in and just gets gifted a team. And then he takes Mike Allstott and relegates him to fullback. But anyway, that's a whole nother. But, yeah, it's got to be 1999. I still have the championship hat. I was 25 at the time. You know, it was awesome because I grew up as a Bucs fan. We were always losers, and then we get to almost to the pinnacle of the mountain. And, you know, that catch was reminiscent of Terry Allen's catch against us this year in the playoffs. I think that's the guy's name's Terry for the Redskins. That ball hit the ground also. Yeah, and then they changed the rule the next year because Rich McKay is on the committee or something.
Yeah, Bert Emanuel caught that football. I mean, even still today, I don't. You watch the highlights from it, and you're like, how is that not a catch? What is a catch in the NFL if that's not a catch?
And then you got two guys that have been around football their whole lives, Madden and Summerall, just talking about it before they overturn it out.
Yeah,
solid catch. But anyway, that was mine. It was really depressing. That was the time my father said to me, you know, you don't even know these guys. You don't gain anything from this, you know. So it was. That's
what my wife always says to me. It doesn't work, Gabe. I still get emotionally frustrated after my team's lose.
Yes. Anyway, you have a good day, Nick.
Thanks, Gabe. I appreciate it. Oh, yeah, man. Emmanuel made that catch. It was a 13-yard catch. They were on the Rams' 22-yard line. 47 seconds to go. Score was 11-6. Could have been the time they made their first trip to the Super Bowl. Should have been. That was a catch. You'll never change my mind. Let's go to Charlie in Tampa. Charlie, take two. What do you got for us?
May 21st, 1995, Madison Square Garden. Derek Harper inbounds the ball. Patrick Ewing, he's at the top of the key. He heads down the key. His finger rolls and it rolls around, and then it's loose for the bases. And I cry like a baby because we didn't make the Eastern Conference Finals, and that was our year. And that was supposed to change everything in New York. Patrick Ewing's finger roll that missed changed everything. It ruined everything. That was the worst day of my life as a sports fan. Now, as a sports fan, when it comes to gambling, I was 16 years old. I had $6,500 on a game when the Yankees lost to the Seattle Mariners in the old Kingdome, Game 5 of the 95 wild card game when Edgar Martinez hit the double down the line. and Yankees were up by 1 run going into the final inning, and they lost the game. I had to take my happy you-know-what self to the bookie's house with $200 and promise him the rest.
The days of having to go to a bookie's house, Charlie. At least you don't have to do that anymore. Or maybe you do.
No.
Oh, that's
No.
funny. Charlie, I appreciate your call today. I don't feel bad for you about the Yankees loss, but that Knicks one, yeah, that probably hurt.
Oh, bro, I'm still upset about it.
Then they finally get to the finals the one year against the Rockets, and, they cut off the TV broadcast for O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, that was in '94. Actually, that was before then. I was in Hawaii for. I was in Hawaii for that John Starks 2 for 17 debacle, and then in '98 we played Spurs, and Tim Duncan and David Robinson. They just ate us alive because Camby was all we have, and he got hurt.
All right, Charlie, I want to cut off the New York's.
Playing that series.
We got to cut off the New York's Nick Radio,
right.
Charlie. I'm going to lose everybody. But I appreciate your call, all right?
Take care, pal.
Oh, man. That's why radio's great, because in that finals in 94, everybody, I know multiple people who are Knicks fans. They had to go listen to it on the radio because TV went and they cut to OJ. Let's go to Colin in Zephyr Hills. Colin, worst day ever as a sports fan. Which one stands out to you?
What's up, Nick? Good morning.
Good morning.
This one's a little recency bias, but week 7 of this year, when both Mike and Chris went down in the same game, just the game in general, and then the decision to leave Mike in. We didn't know, how far we would go in the playoffs. I'm sure we would have went farther with Godwin, but to see them both go down like that, I was up till 3 a.m. listening to T-Cries in the overtime show. Went to work the next morning just depressed the whole week because, Chris is such a good guy to see him go down like that. And then, for Mike was, even more brutal. We all knew that he was hampered already, seeing him injured on the sideline. They decided to go throw him out there and go a seam route right up the numbers. And his leg was, it was pretty bad. So, yeah, that's a little recency bias, but yeah, that whole week, I was pissed off. I'm still pissed off to this day that we left Chris in there. And, tried to win the game down by 10.
I understand the frustration, but those guys they're not going to come out in that instance because mathematically they were still alive. It does suck that they both ended up getting hurt, but I still to this day don't believe you can take those guys out, even in hindsight. But I understand why you're also frustrated as a fan. I appreciate your call. Totally makes sense. All right, we still got a lot of calls to get through. I got one more segment to go. Everybody on hold, stay put. We are going to get your calls next. Worst moment if you've had as a sports fan, like a loss that just didn't sit right with you. We will finish this topic up next.
Tampa Bay Sports Radio, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. From the Cool Today Weather Center, cooltoday.com.
It's a cold morning across the Tampa Bay area. A freeze warning is in effect until 9 a.m. for the Nature Coast. The rest of our area continues to be under a cold weather advisory until 8 a.m. For your Gasparilla forecast, expect clear sky, lots of sun, and milder temperatures. This afternoon, we reach the low 60s. Tonight's temperatures drop quickly into the upper 40s. However, Sunday afternoon is looking even better, with daytime highs in the upper 60s to low 70s. Conditions stay dry for the next several days. I'm Max Defender 8's Val Simpson.
This report is sponsored by Think It Up. Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
When the wildfires struck Los Angeles,
severe fire weather conditions.
First responders from near and far came to the rescue.
All fire departments and all law enforcement will be prepared.
Now the music community has joined together to help at Fire Aid, a historic fundraising concert for the recovery of Los Angeles. Thursday night, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. Live on the free iHeartRadio app's Hit Nation station.
And give what you can now at fireaidla.org.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Did you know that 1 in 4 people seeking treatment for ED are under 40? Hims can help. Get started at hims.com/joy. Through hims.com, you can access a full
All your best Bucks, Bolts, and Rays coverage. The Nick Wize Show on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
All right, we're going to wrap up the show. We're talking about the worst moment you've ever had as a sports fan where you've just been depressed. Talking about it because last weekend might have been mine. So we got some calls here I want to get through that are on hold. And then we'll finish the show. It's Alan in Sarasota. You're up first. Yours has to do with the Rays. Worst moment as a sports fan that just kind of left you depressed after a game. What game was it?
Oh, it was Game 6 against the Dodgers. Blake Snell is pitching the game of his life. His pitch count was 75 to 80. But no, Captain Hook has to come in there, take him out, and you know what happened after that. And you know the thing was about it? If he had gone in his press conference after the game and said, you know what, I screwed up, I made a mistake, I'd had a lot more respect for him. But no, he defended his actions, and it's because all he does is look at analytics. He doesn't have a gut as a manager. He's a great regular season manager, but when it comes to the playoffs, please give me anybody else.
Thanks for the call, Alan.
That's what I think.
I appreciate it. No, yeah, look, I get it. That is one that, you know, in my time here at 95.3 WDA and AM 620, I've heard fans upset about the most. That one definitely stands out. That's one that nobody's ever going to be over. And look, I understand the dislike and disagreement with Kevin Cash and his decision in that moment. I still think you can win a championship with Kevin Cash, despite a lot of people kind of comparing him to Tony Dungy. You know, I think if Kevin Cash were to leave and go to another team, it would probably work out the same way it did with Tony Dungy. I think he would probably end up winning a championship. Let's go to Bill in Tampa. Bill, your worst day as a sports fan. What happened?
Yeah. So I didn't hang up. No, I didn't. Sorry. Am I still here?
Yeah. You're good. You're on the air.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so I went to a Bucks game. I hate to say I didn't do my research to remind myself what the date was, but it was a big night. I had friends with me. It was all great. We had Peyton Manning in town, and we were kicking his you-know-what by 24 points in the fourth quarter, and you know the rest of the story.
Didn't end very well?
What's that?
Said didn't end very well for you?
Oh no, it didn't. You know, remember that game? It was horrible. We were up 24 points on him. I can't remember if it was 24-0, but we had 24 points on them, and he came back and scored 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
Peyton Manning was just so damn good.
Oh, I forgot if he was with the Colts or who he was with at the time. This might have been like the early 2000s.
Yeah, I think it was the Colts. That game was a long time ago. I don't even.
Yeah.
See, that one hurts you more than it hurts me because a regular season game, a regular season game 20 years ago, you can't let that one bother you. It's a regular season game. But,
thank you. Yeah.
You know, that's what we do as sports fans. Thanks for the call, Bill. I really appreciate it. Rocco and Dunedin, your worst day as a sports fan. What's up? What you got?
Oh, man. So I got 2, though. So 2007, I'm transplant originally from Phoenix. The game, Steve Nash got checked into the scorer's table, and then all of a sudden they ejected Stoudemire and DL, but then they showed, like, afterwards, they showed that Duncan was on the court too, but they didn't eject him, and then he went for, like, a triple-double the next game, and then they just smashed us after that. And then after the finals, we found out Donahue, you know, he was the ref that game.
Oh, yeah, Donahue rigging games in the NBA. That was one of the greatest stories, but not so great story. Jeremy in Tampa, your worst day as a sports fan.
So my worst day would probably have to be Michael Jordan's last game with the Wizards. I was finally old enough to understand what it was that I had watched growing up and also realized that was it. And, you know, that one really busted me up, and I've kind of been looking for that type of competitor in sports in general since then. So.
Yeah, I mean, Tiger Woods is one of them. Seeing Tiger Woods on the tour not being as good as he used to be is tough to watch. And when you do watch him in a major, you want him to do well, and then you see that he struggles just to walk the golf course. You're like, oh, man, I'm getting old. Tiger's getting old, and we all feel old. All right, last one on this topic, Ross in St. Pete. Ross, which game stands out to you that just, like, crushed you and emotionally upset you for days?
Hey, Nick. Wasn't a game. It was an event. I was 10 years old, 1997. Survivor Series, Shawn Michaels, jobs over Bret Hart. in what was known as the Montreal Screwjob. Yes, it may be sports entertainment, but it's still real to me. Have a good one.
That was real. Vince screwed Brett. We'll never forget that one. The Montreal Screwjob. I've watched so many documentaries on that. Old WWE documentaries are my favorite. Walking into the studio right now, the show coming up next, Chris and Casey. Chris Mathis, Casey Warner. Good morning, boys. Happy Gasparilla Day. I don't see you're not festive and pirate outfit like myself here. Where's the Pirates gear?
Honestly, I'm wearing pants today. Usually I wear shorts, so I feel warm and I feel ready to go. I'm ready to be bundled up, man.
You finally got a pair of pants.
What is it they say? Ahoy, matey.
Ahoy, matey. Yeah.
You know what a pirate's favorite letter is, right?
No. Good one, buddy. Good one. That is 10:54. Chris Mathis made his first dad joke.
30 seconds in.
All right, a couple things that I talked about on the show today. I'd like to get your guys' answers. We talked about the biggest sports villain in Tampa Bay. It really came down between Stu Sternberg and Liam Coen, were two of the most popular names. Antonio Brown got a couple votes. Biggest sports villain in Tampa Bay. Who do you guys got? We'll start with Casey.
Man, that's a tough one. First name that comes to me personally is Marshawn Lattimore. I mean, really, you talk about from the Saints and now even the Commanders and where the Commanders are at, and
I think he's on the list.
Beat Mike Evans this year.
I think he's on. He beat him, but Mike took him to school.
Yeah,
Mike took him to school. It's unfortunate the outcome of that game, but Marshawn Lattimore was somebody we did use in the example. Somebody that was probably high on the villains list, but probably below Liam Coen after what happened. Chris Mathis, you got one?
Now, this might not be who I think, but I'm surprised some Buccaneer fans didn't say Todd Bowles. How is he not up there for how they always call for this man's job after every game?
I think that sports fans here dislike Todd, but I don't think they look at him as a villain. Right?
Then I think the answer is Liam Coen.
Liam Cohen's probably at the top,
and I think
at least up there. I mean,
recency bias,
because what Antonio Brown did was probably worse than what
I saw that video last night again, and I was breaking it down. And Mike Evans, what did Mike Evans say to him as he was walking off the field? He went over there and said something to him, and then he's taking his jersey off, and he just says, "Screw it, I'm out."
I'd love to know what Mike said to him.
Like, what could you have even thought of?
I'm sure he thought or said something like. Really, man? Come on, bro. And that was it. Like, he lowered his hands down. Mike Evans, lowered his hands down, took a right, slowly walked away. Like, he was just let down, too.
All right, the other topic, which I just wrapped up, worst, sports moment after a loss that just beat you up. Is there one that stands out in your life?
Yeah, I told you mine earlier this week. It's the 2019 Super Bowl, Rams against the Patriots. Anybody that knows me knows I'm a big Rams fan. I drove about an hour and a half from my college town in Bowling Green, Kentucky, up to the Louisville area, watched the game with some friends, had a great party, great celebration, was so excited, had been waiting for the Rams to be in the Super Bowl my entire life.
Didn't even get to see a touchdown.
They blow it. Jared Goff stinks. We score 3 points, and I have to drive all the way back to my college town the same night. I'm crying on the drive back home. The whole week was dreary and cold. It was raining the next day. Awful week. Terrible.
Chris Mathis, you got one?
For me, I would go with zero blitz against the Rams. I mean, I felt like the Bucs were going to go all the way again. I really did. And then that happens, and rest is history. That play alone will forever be etched into my mind as a Buccaneer fan growing up.
A very popular one today, Casey, which you were on the other end, and maybe, I don't know what year you were born, but 1999, the Bird Emanuel, where he caught the ball, but they called it not a catch. Yeah. I'm sure you've seen the highlights of it. And John Madden's like, I don't know how you overturned this one. And Pat's like, I agree. And then the refs are like, no catch. And we're sitting here like, what is a catch? Like, is anything a catch these days? But those are a couple of good ones that stand out, because we did this topic because last weekend, obviously, for me, not fun. And then the Buckeyes winning their national title. Real quick, before I get out of here, what do you guys got coming up?
Oh, come on, man. You know the big story, Liam Coen, also a couple of names that might be in play for the offensive coordinator gig here with the Buccaneers.
Yeah, there's they requested an interview from somebody at the Rams. So
Shieldhouse.
Yeah, maybe you can give us some insight on this person a little bit. We'll see what the Bucs do. My name is Nick Wize. I am out of here. Chris and Casey coming up next. You got Rock Riley at 1 o'clock, Aaron Jacobson at 2 o'clock. Happy Gasparilla Day. I am headed to Tampa. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Tampa Bay Sports Radio 95.3 WDAE and AM 620 presents the One Grand Slam. Listen for your chance to win $1,000 at the top of every hour, weekdays 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Got a chip or crack in your windshield? Call the Glass Doctor. We bring 3 decades of auto glass excellence to your doorstep. Why drive for service when our mobile glass shop on wheels brings leading edge equipment and expertise to you?
Call the Glass Doctor.